Anyone here from Pennsylvania? No, fair enough. Well, our next speaker is the president of an organization called Caring for Animals, Respect for the Environment, or Compassion for Animals, Respect for the Environment, acronym CARE, C-A-R-E, based in Pennsylvania. She is an author and also a lawyer. She teaches environmental law, and I believe practices it as well. How about a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Lee Hall.
Okay, how about a cheer? When I say vegan, you say go. Vegan!
Go!
Vegan!
Go!
Go vegan!
Go!
Okay, when I say, we'll do it all together. When I say vegan, you say go. Vegan!
Go!
Vegan!
Go!
Go vegan! Yay! I'm Lee Hall, as you heard, and I'm coming from Chester County, Pennsylvania. I do have a new book coming out, but it's not quite out yet, but hopefully by Vegetarian Summerfest in Johnstown in July it will be. Some Summerfest fans? Look up North American Vegetarian Society Summerfest if you're interested in going somewhere really fun in July and seeing some of us again. Right before I left for New York, I noticed there was a big story about Alabama and how Alabama gets a lot of rain, and so it also has a very big chicken producing industry. So they've got 1 billion chickens a year in Alabama that they produce. A billion chickens a year in Alabama means 1 million tons of chicken waste every year. 1 million tons of chicken waste. What do you do with that every year? So obviously they have a waterway problem, and the latest report says that 500 miles of rivers and streams are polluted by waste, and it's from, the report says, agriculture, okay? But chickens in Alabama make up more than 60% of the agribusiness. So what is the pollution problem in the rivers and streams in Alabama? It is the chicken industry. Tyson's and the big companies don't own, they own the chickens but not the waste. You see how it works? Tyson owns the chickens, but the waste and the growing of the chickens is outsourced to the local farmer. So then people say, oh, I buy from the local farmer, there's local farms. That's wrapped in to the big industry, to the big players. But Tyson's doesn't want to take responsibility for the waste and the water pollution. And this is such a big thing because now they're saying, well, Alabama's becoming like the next Chesapeake Bay, all right? And you know what's going on in the Chesapeake Bay? In the Chesapeake Bay, they've got dead zones where any moving creature would just get sucked up in it and die because of all the fertilizers that are going out from the chicken industry into the Chesapeake Bay. That's what's going on in the Chesapeake, and now they're saying Alabama's becoming like this, where we're having this problem with these nutrients. What's happening is the chickens arrive on the small farm when they're only 1 day old. The chicken load that goes to a small farm is about the size of the group, fits into a school bus sized truck. They show up at the farm. 6 weeks later, they're grown. It takes many tractor trailers to take them out of the place. It's a caravan full of chickens coming out, and then they have a few weeks in there where they're cleaning not the dry waste, because the dry waste stays there for a year or more, They're cleaning the wet waste from the chicken farms, and that's called cake. And they clean it out and they put it into one particular storage barn until it's ready to, what they do, they call applications. So they take the fertilizer, the chicken fertilizer, and they apply it to the lands and grow whatever. There's much too much. The land cannot absorb it all. It is going into the waterways. So what we've got on all sides of the East Coast, on the south, and of course California as well, on the west, we've got terrible situation with water pollution because of animal agribusiness. And when I was mentioning the dead zones in the Chesapeake Bay, you know, they get even bigger when they're out in the ocean. They can be 10,000 miles. I mean, they're so huge that there's no way sea life can escape. So everyone, crabs, lobsters, tube worms, all sea life, they're just suffocated as this huge dead zone comes at them. So these are the kind of situations that humans are creating. There's 7 billion of us now on the earth, creating for the waterways. What's making these dead zones even worse is that the earth is warming up, okay? And that allows what they call the nutrients in fertilizer to really go gangbusters. And the algal blooms are now, there's many more algal blooms than there should be in a given season. And so you've got the heat playing off this waste, and you've got this mix of a problem that comes from both pollution and climate change coming into it, mixing into it. This is so serious. Talking about climate change, there's one place in the earth that scientists have recently noticed is not getting warmer. Anyone know where that is? In the North Atlantic. There is a warm current in the North Atlantic. It's called the Gulf Stream. And it keeps Northern Europe warmer than it would otherwise be. And just before I left for New York, I read a report that said that the warming is the Gulf Stream current, which has stayed warm, is now starting to come apart. And what that means is, in addition to, it could be a tipping point. They try to figure out, why is this one warm area coming apart? And they found out that it's the Greenland ice sheet. It is disintegrating at a faster rate than was expected. So what does this mean? Okay, you have a one warm area in the North Atlantic. It's starting to come apart. So that you would think, well, that means isn't it going to get colder there? Isn't that going to stop global warming to some extent? No, proportionately no. The effect that way will be not as great as overall global warming, although it will continue to mess up the temperatures around the world. But what you're seeing, what's really the concern here is that the Greenland ice sheets are melting. Does that matter to New Yorkers? Absolutely. You're talking about sea level rise on an unprecedented scale, on an unpredictable scale, because the scientists or the computer models could not tell us that Greenland ice sheets were melting so fast as they now know is the case. This is extremely troubling. We have a role to play in teaching about how to address climate change. If it can be stopped in its tracks, it's going to come from us. And I just heard a couple of speakers say, I heard Martin Rowe, I heard Karen Davis say that we can't be peripheral anymore. And I'm going to add my 2 cents to that. I think we need, you know, we were marching up here and we were talking about, what do we want? Vegan options in our schools. When do we want them? Now. Let's edit that. Vegan offerings. It cannot be an option. It cannot be an option. We are going to have to change our way of living on this earth, our way of eating on this earth, our way of being on this earth. The whole idea that it's top-down, human domination, we're just the great super apes, and it's just totally all right to dominate everybody else on the planet, and that's the way that humankind is supposed to evolve, that's got to go. We have got to see ourselves as contributors in a bio-community. And that means that veganism is an offering. It's not an option. We do not want options. This needs to move to the center if we are going to respect and save the planet, which includes us, but it includes a lot of other communities as well that we would be taking down with us. We don't want to do that. I'll just leave you with something that you can remember and can take home. It's a numerical fact, but you can remember it. If you switch from eating animal flesh and dairy, the whole shebang, animal agribusiness, SAD diet, standard American diet, that's not going to be standard anymore. Because each of us as an individual is going to divest ourselves from animal agribusiness, and we're going to go to our communities and we're going to say it loud and say it proud that we're vegan and we're here. Get used to it. And if you'd like the source of the fact I'm about to tell you, you can tweet to me at Vegan Place, and I will get you the source of it, because it is a scientific journal article that's recent, and it's getting a lot of attention in environmental law and environmental science. And it has shown that in terms of food miles, we think, well, if we just buy at the local farm, isn't it better, food, less transportation? No, you know why it's not good to buy those local chickens and those local eggs from an environmental standpoint? Because of all the feed, okay? The feed, most local chicken farmers, backyard chicken farmers and local chicken farmers, they're driving their cars to a retail feed store. The feed comes from Canada in the Midwest. It has to be shipped somewhere to be mixed and aggregated. Then it's shipped thousands of miles to retail shops where then the chicken farmers go and buy it. So buying local, biggest savings as far as greenhouse gases, it's going to be about 4 to 5% is the best you're going to do on locavore stuff, okay? But if you go all the way, conscientious objection to animal agribusiness, it is the equivalent of not driving your car 8,000 miles a year. More than that, it's actually, the number is 8,120. Okay, more than 8,000 miles a year. I don't even drive that much. None of us should be. But if you go from animal agribusiness to complete conscientious objection, it's the equivalent of not driving your car more than 8,000 miles a year. You can remember that, take that home, tweet to me. I would love to hear from you and speak to everybody here one by one. This is a wonderful crowd. Divest. Divest. Divest from animal agribusiness. Divest.
Yes, thank you, Lee Hall. All right. There's been a lot of talk about climate change and global warming, and a very, very important issue that affects every single one of us. And I don't know if all of you know this, but I will impart this information to you now. Animal agriculture, according to scientists at the World Bank, accounts for 51% of all anthropogenic greenhouse gases. 51% of all man-made greenhouse gases. That is more than all forms of transportation combined and tripled. More than all forms of transportation combined and tripled. Sit with that for a second.